In today's video, we'll be going over how much money you should have saved by every decade. So when you're on your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s and 60s. And all this data is according to a report by Fidelity. I'll also share some of the major goals you can be aiming for in every decade, and some pointers if you feel you're not currently on track. In your 20s is usually the time where most people will be starting their careers and getting their foot on the career ladder. Most probably you're coming out of university or some sort of qualification or educational program, and you may be carrying some student debt. Getting financially aware at this age for this decade would be in your best interest. The transition from a student to having a career is also substantial, from being a broke student to now having a monthly income, so comparatively it is a big jump. So with this money now coming in, what should you do and how much of it should you save? Most people don't have much savings at this age, so it's something to double down on. In this decade, you want to aim to have a few months worth of salary saved up, anywhere from 1 to 6 months if you're able to. And with that in mind, we need to consider the small steps needed to achieve that target. So here are 4 goals to aim for in your 20s. The first goal is paying off any outstanding debts. This is because if you want to save money or eventually invest, having debt weighs you down and you won't be able to make the progress you want. The second step would be to understand your spending. In order to build better money habits, you need to know how much money is coming in and what your expenses are, or how you spend in general. It's very easy to get trigger happy and spend all your money on items, then not understand where all that money has gone. So track your spending. Once you have your debt taken care of and tracking your expenses down, you can move on to saving 1 to 3 months worth of your salary. And having these few months worth of a salary saved up gives you a level of freedom and peace of mind, knowing money is saved if an emergency were to happen. The fourth goal in your 20s is to open up a tax efficient investment account. When you invest your money, you're able to do it in a tax-free wrapper. This means any gains you make won't be subject to tax up to a certain limit. If you're in the UK, this is an ISA, and if you're in the US, it's a Roth IRA. Once you're in your 30s, you most likely will be settled in your career and heading in the direction of higher salaries and promotions. It's also around this time where big life decisions are being made, such as getting married and potentially buying a house. And these can be quite expensive. It's at this age bracket where you probably have the basics down and ideally a better hold of your financial situation. But even if you are a little bit behind, I wouldn't worry too much because there is still time to improve your financial situation. In the report by Fidelity, it says you should aim to have 1 times your salary at the age of 30 years old. And naturally at this age, you want to alter your thinking to more a longer term mindset. So thinking 5, 10, 15 years down the line. And you should be able to contribute more of your salary towards your investment portfolio. The report goes on to say that by age 35, you should aim to have 2 times your salary in savings. Now, just as a disclaimer, that guideline may seem like quite a bit, and it is. But when you look at the numbers, you realize if you start investing early and consistently into the stock market, it is possible to hit these milestones. So this is why you need to be investing your money from an earlier age. If you take a look at this calculator, if you invest over the next 35 years with a monthly contribution of £500 with an assumed rate of a 7% return, you can see how this number shoots up, and that's all due to the effects of compounding. The next goal is to consider switching firms. If you don't believe you're being paid well for where you are, it's always worth considering, as pay rises inside a company aren't always as lucrative as changing firms for a higher salary. You could even jump up 20-30% of what you're being paid currently, so keep your eyes open for opportunities. Before going further into what the report says, it is worth pointing out that these numbers aren't here to make you feel bad. How much we earn or how much money we make, we don't need to compare ourselves to anyone. The problem with the report is that it's quite generic and it's only a guideline, so it's the only way we should look at it. It's not taking into account a person's individual circumstances. Now that you've reached your 40s, it's in this decade that's likely to be one of your peak earning years. You'd have most likely excelled more in your career and gained a lot more experience, and you can now reap the rewards of that hard work financially. At this stage of life, you probably have more responsibility now, and you would have seen the benefits of compounding growth on your investments. In the report, it says by age 40, you should have 3 times your salary saved. The report does assume you started investing early and stayed the course. It's also in this decade you want to start thinking more carefully about your retirement age. It is around 25 plus years away, but something to start planning for. Think of your investments like rolling a snowball down a hill. As it picks up more snow, it will get bigger and roll down faster and faster. So the snowball will be massive when it reaches the bottom. So these are some of the things you want to be thinking about. You'd want to have all the major big expenses all accounted for. That could be paying off your house or looking after elderly family members. You would need to think how that fit into the bigger picture of your finances. This could also include your savings for your kids and their educational costs. The next goal is to have your financial bases under control, meaning having a good credit score and not being in debt. You should have a good idea of how much you would need to live off once you stop working and keeping an eye towards eventual retirement. The next goal is retirement contributions and having that maximized. You need to add more because this is likely to be the age bracket where you earn the most, both in your personal investment account and the employer investment account. Once you've entered your 50s, a report says you should have saved 6 times your salary. At this stage of life, again, you should be around your peak earning years and should be commanding a significant salary, as well as making regular investment contributions. As retirement is now on the horizon, you want to be doing everything you can financially to prepare for this. Here are some goals to start thinking about once you hit this milestone. If you have a mortgage, it's likely that it's going to be ending soon, so you should concentrate on paying off your home, as it would mean that you can live a life debt-free. The next step is to further diversify your investments and consider changing from stocks to less volatile investments like bonds. Your investment portfolio tends to change as you age, from riskier investments to safer, more reliable investments that may return less. And the next goal is that you can exceed your contribution limits. Use your experience to get into higher positions. With this increased salary, you can then start contributing a higher percentage into your pension account. This will boost your retirement savings. Now, in your 60s, the main priority here should be preservation and minimizing any risk as you approach retirement years. It is by this age the report recommends that you should have 8 times your salary saved. So in terms of goals and things to do, it's similar to the previous decade. By this age, you'd want to have paid off your house, a complete understanding of your retirement finances, and you should know how much you've saved. This means pensions, savings, and investments, and having other things in place, such as a living will in case anything were to happen. For longer term thinking, you might want to consider how savings may be distributed to family members and inheritance. Okay, so those are all the guidelines and the numbers suggested by Fidelity. It really assumes that you invest early and stay the course, then those numbers are achievable. However, that's not always the reality of the situation. This stat shows that most people are only living paycheck to paycheck and don't even have £1,000 saved as an emergency fund. So if you have something saved, you are doing well. Lots out there are struggling, and it's not fair for everyone to be put in the same box. If you found this interesting, you may want to check out this video over here.